Hello, Nick here. So initially this was going to be one big video, but I kind of went on a bit too long with my talking both in my reflecting on predictions from the previous 4 years and the new collection predictions from this year's list. So I've decided to split the video into two, and this is the beginning of the second part, which will be touching upon the list of predictions that I've done for this year, for going from this year going forwards after season 7. So, hope you enjoy. So, we're going to go into the predictions for releases after season 17 in a moment, but before we do, a reminder of what has been released already. So in 2018, we started off with season 12 in July, and that became so successful, as I mentioned earlier. Then they got season 19 out later that year in December. In 2019, we got seasons 18, 10, and 23 in March, July, and October, respectively. In 2020, seasons 26 and 14 came out in January and May, respectively, with season 12's second edition coming out in March. After the aforementioned break during the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and then coming back when things started to ease up a little bit in March 2021, we got season 8. And we've been going since then. And following from season 8, we got seasons 24 and 17 in June and December, respectively. 2022 saw seasons 22 and 2 released in June and December, respectively. 60th anniversary year 2023 saw seasons 9 and 20 released in March and September, respectively. And then last year, 2024, we got seasons 15 and 25 released in March and October, respectively. And now this year, 2025, we will get season 7 in March. So not very long to go at time of recording. And hopefully at time of this video coming out, it should be even closer. So on to the predictions for the list. And I'm going to be sticking to 2 box sets a year for these predictions, because realistically at the time, that seems to be what we're staying with since 2021 because of what I mentioned earlier. And so it's more realistic to assume we're going to be getting 2, maybe 3 box sets if we're lucky a year. But besides maybe the year the Wilderness Years box set comes out, if that happens, then I think we're going to be on 2 box sets a year from now on. So even including with the Wilderness Years box set, I've actually accommodated the remaining sets to be 2 a year up to 2029, with 1 more in 2030 if we include Wilderness Years, sticking to the presumption it'll be 2 a year even if Wilderness Years comes out. But there is the possibility that we might get 3 if that comes out a year, and they might release another 2, or maybe 3 seasons will come out again at some point. But we'll see how it goes. As for the moment, we're going to stick to the realistic 2 per year, with the last one being on its own in 1 year. Compared this to the 2021 list, where we were coming out of we're about to get out of that break during the pandemic, or the start of the pandemic, and we're going to go back to box sets being released more frequently. And the optimism I had at that time was that we were going to go back to 3, maybe even get to 4 box sets a year, like we had / was going to have in 2019, because season 26 was going to be in December of that year. But of course things didn't happen that way, so we're going to the now more realistic current release pattern of the box sets, as opposed to the more extremely optimistic former / potential ones that I did for the first list. So we start off with the second of the 2025 box sets, following on from the upcoming season 7. My prediction for the second 2025 set is season 6. Now, I know a guy who has been fairly correct about some of the more recent box sets released, and if he's correct, then he'd be a reliable source of information about this set being released. He got season 7 correct, I believe. I think he got season 25 correct, maybe season 15. But yeah, I trust him. He says season 6 is probably going to be next, And, you know, I was thinking that we might get season 5 or 6 next anyway, because it's going to be a Troughton set. And whilst I do think season 1 should come out as soon as possible, but season 6 does sound like it is more likely to be out next. And also, like with the season 18-19 situation where they come out back to back in reverse, we could have the same with season 7 and 6. And we've had the War Games in Colour broadcast on TV at the end of December last year. And whilst the DVD, Blu-ray, and Steelbook haven't had a confirmed date of release, they could be released sometime shortly after the Season 7 set. Although the Savages release date seems to be where I probably would have assumed the War Games in Colour's release date would have gone if they wanted to both have a similar time gap between broadcast and release like the Daleks in Colour did, and also to capitalise on being the story right before Spearhead from Space, which is in the Season 7 box set. And I think confirming Season 7 was next, just before the War Games in Colour, was a strong move, even if the trailer wasn't released until the following month. Although it could have also been because of the rumours being leaked. But I think it was both a good idea on a marketing standpoint, as well as also tackling those leaks, getting the news out officially is pretty quickly after that. So a really good decision then, even though we didn't get the trailer for another month. Although that trailer was worth it because they did their own regeneration scene, and that was pretty cool as well. Now we got 2 versions. Woo! You can count which one you think is the canon one or whatever. They both use clips from existing episodes, so there's anything new besides the fan-made stuff for the War Games in Colour. And even then that was partially using existing material anyway. The only obstacle that does stand in the way of season 6 being done soon is the Space Pirates, which is missing 5 of its 6 episodes, and no animation has been confirmed for it as of time of recording. If there is any announcement of either it or another story being animated revealed between time of recording and time of the video going out, I or someone else in the channel will post a linked comment below to say update yada yada yada. If there isn't an update, we won't do that comment, or at least there's no updates before the video comes out, or on the day of the video coming out. If it's day after, or maybe the day after, or the next week or two, maybe. But maybe start of March or just after that, if there isn't an announcement of another story being animated or another box set confirmation, then that comment probably won't exist. But the Space Pirates could still be animated in time, maybe. They could still also get their own individual DVD and Blu-ray release, or at the very least DVD, and yeah, or they might just do a reconstruction. Hopefully it'll be a good one. Loose Cannon are the masters of doing reconstructions. They are amazing. But even they couldn't salvage the Space Pirates. So unless the story gets an animation, good luck trying to salvage that. But other than that, Season 6 is practically ready to go. It's even now got a new version of the War Games to include. So yeah, it's just 5 episodes to animate or reconstruct. Or they'll probably do a reconstruction alongside the animation if they did go with the former. So either way, good luck. But Season 6 is now the most likely season to be released on Blu-ray, at least to the 60s, and Second Doctor if starting his ones off. Although if we're going 70s and 80s, then we know we're not doing season 11 next, because we're just about to have a John Pertwee set, so it would be a Tom Baker or season 21. But we'll get to those in a bit, because now we come to 2026. And by the way, I think season 6 will be out October of this year. Could be September, could be November even. It might even be December if they need more time. But then that does shorten the gap to the next set, which I played around with the months of release, but let's say the most likely ones are March, June, September, October, and maybe July and December. So those are the 6 months that are most likely to get sets released are March for the spring, June and or July for the summer, September and or October for the autumn, and December for winter. But other months are possible, and I have had a bit of a play around. Some of the other months have had box sets before. May and January have had sets released in those months, so it is possible that we could have ones released in like July, August, November, February, April. I don't think I put in August down. I think I skipped August actually on my list. I think I put every other month down. Maybe I'll change a July one to an August. But my 2026 first set prediction is season 1. And I've put February down for that, although it could end up being March, or they'll have to get it out in January, depending on what the rights say. Now, I've already mentioned season 1 in detail about the rights with an unearthly child, and or at least from my point of view, where we stand with potentially getting it out. And like with, say, the UK elections thing, where before the election was confirmed to be happening at the start of July last year, end of last month was the latest they could have it. They could have had it after the one before in December 2019. So it was 5 years and up to a month, or just under a month late, or just over a month later for the next one. That was their deadline. Of course, it happened in July, so they did it way before the last possible time. But same thing kind of applies here. January 2006, or the 30th January 2006 specifically, is the UK release date of the beginning box set DVDs for The Unearthly Child, The Daleks, and The Edge of Destruction. So around the end of January 2026 or the start of February could be the deadline, but they might have maybe a month or two overextension, so that if they needed to get them out in February or March, they could be allowed to do that. So I've put season 1 down for February, so we can get it. It's a little over, but not by much. It's a month over, and it's also around the similar time to the spring releases of 23, 24, and 25 were all Marches. Although season 8's 2021 release was going to be mid-February before it was delayed to March. But yeah, if it's going to say something like what season 8 was going to be originally, then I think we could probably get away with it. Or if it has to be near to that box set release, then maybe the first or second week of February. So the gap between the 25 second release and the 26 first release could be a very short one. Definitely the shortest one since the season 2 to 9 box set gap. But if they want season 1 to come out before the deadline of this deal, with potential 1 to 2 month extension, we're not going to get it any later than March 2026 if we can get it under the current deal, with the standard edition set kind of being allowed to be released within 2 years later of the limited edition's release, because the discs are the same and the booklet and packaging is similar to the limited edition set. That one's got a loophole to say it can come out a bit later, because it's got most of the same stuff is as the same as the limited edition set. But the limited edition set has to come out either January, February, or March 2026 at latest, and if not before, because otherwise I don't think we're going to be getting it until much later, unless there is a good, clean, updated deal for the home media releases. But going by how the current rights holder for the story has been, especially towards them going to streaming and all of the let's say the tantrums that they've been having, it might be pretty difficult negotiating a new home media deal, even though they seem to support watching the story on DVD. But whether that will extend to a new Blu-ray release is to be seen. So we'll see how it goes in here. But if there is no new deal likely to happen, we need to get it out under this current deal, or we're not going to have this one story on the box set. And yeah, like with the missing episodes, otherwise not really worth releasing with your missing episodes. At least the missing episodes are being filled by the animations and recons. So yeah, there isn't really much. It's not really worth it getting it out after March 2026, and no new deal has been made if we're not going to have that story on the discs. That's why it could end up being the last one, or one of the last ones, if not sorted. The other problem is Marco Polo, which has 7 episodes, and all of them are missing. That would need a massive recon or animation, and yeah, that's the other problem. But again, if you had enough time, you have enough notice to know that, snap, we might not be able to get this out as late as we wanted, but we still got a bit of time to get it out. Maybe we could try working on it. Then they've had the time to maybe work on it. So that means they've had time to do a recon of Marco Polo, if we're not getting an animation. Hopefully it'll be a better one than that 30-minute edit from the Edge of Destruction DVD. Like, yeah, the Daleks in colour and the War Games in colour got flack from cutting 7 and 10 part stories down to 75 to 90-minute versions of those stories. And yet, how many people complained about the Marco Polo 30-minute recon from the Edge of Destruction DVD? I know it didn't get broadcast on national telly, but same thing applies. It's not like the Galaxy 4 reconstruction on the Aztec Special Edition DVD or the Ice Warriors one from its VHS, where they combined it to about 15 to 25 minutes for 1 to 2 episodes. No, 7 episodes condensed into 30 minutes. That's not even 5 minutes an episode. At least the War Games in colour, you could probably get 9 minutes per episode if it wasn't for all the new stuff in the editions into a 90-minute edit. That's better than less than 5. Yeah, as you can tell, I don't like that reconstruction of Marco Polo from the Edge of Destruction DVD, and a full 7-part, each episode being 25 minutes length, or give or take, would be much better, and we would be happy with that if we can have the animation. The other box set released for 2026, to probably few people surprised, but not many, Season 13, planned for September, or the autumn at least, or late August. Because, as I've said, I think we're going to be going to biannually Tom Baker sets now, starting from last year's Season 15, for the last 3 box sets that he's had post the break from 2022 and 23, and then when he came back in 24 with Season 15. And I think we're now going to be having it be biannually for him. It used to be annually, but now it's going to be biannually, and he's going to have the even-numbered years whilst the Third Doctor sticks to the odd-numbered years. More of that with the next box set, actually. The reason I chose Season 13 to be next, even though I would have wanted that one to be his last, because it's the best season of Classic Who, in my opinion, and therefore the best of his seasons. But I would have also said the same for Season 7 for the Third Doctor. That is the second best season of Classic Who. It is the best season of the Third Doctor, and both seasons are my second and 5th favourites overall. For those who are wondering, my favourite series is Series 4, and the other 2 in my top 5 are Series 3 and 1 from the 10th and 9th Doctor's eras. So, or seasons 30, 29, and 27, if we're going overall numbers. So, yeah, Season 7 was my favourite for the Third Doctor, but it's not going to be his last box set release. We're going to end with Season 11. So, with that in mind, Season 13 may not end up being the Fourth Doctor's last season, even if it is, at least in my personal opinion, the best. And I know a lot of other fans would cite this as the best or one of his best. Season 14 is the other one that is usually cited as his best. Season 12 usually comes in 3rd place. But, you know, those 3 together are usually considered the peak of Classic Who. And Season 13 for me is like, with the exception of Planet of Evil, is pretty much near perfect. So, yeah, but because of the recent news that Season 7 will be the penultimate Jon Pertwee season, alongside also the fact that the last 2 Tom Baker sets, 17 and 15, were both seasons produced by Graham Williams, whilst we had the two of the 3 Philip Hinchcliffe seasons, they were done, but they had the one J&T Fourth Doctor season in between, and then we went on to the 2 Graham Williams ones. I don't think they'd want to do 3 back-to-back Graham Williams seasons without maybe having a break to go back to Philip Hinchcliffe, so I think they will redo the last Philip Hinchcliffe-produced Fourth Doctor season first, and then they'll end with the final Graham Williams-produced season. Oh, and also, yes, I know, Season 12, Robot, did have Barry Letts produce that story. Okay, we're good. And I've also got another reason why I think Season 16 will be the last one of his, but I'll get back to that later. So for those 3 reasons, the third one I'll touch upon when we get to Season 16. It won't be very long, actually. Just seeing the list. But, yeah, between them wanting to do the last Philip Hinchcliffe season between 2 of the Graham Williams seasons, so they'll have a bit of a break instead of doing all 3 back-to-back in relation of Fourth Doctor season releases. And the fact that despite being considered the most popular of the Fourth Doctor seasons post coming back from the pandemic break, and still the most popular following the Fourth Doctor season break between 17 and 15 over 2022-23, and still the more popular of the two remaining seasons, they'll probably still get it out next instead of waiting it to be possibly last, if season 7 is anything to go by. That's 2 of the 3 reasons, and I'll get back to the third because that is more specified to season 16, similar to the season 7 reason being more specific to season 13. Moving into 2027, and the first release I've actually put down for April, so we can get an April release set, but as we know, these sets don't always necessarily come out on time. I think they did pretty well post-pandemic, getting released on time. Season 8 did get a little delayed, but I think after that we were pretty much good with the releases, although season 25's delay was about a week or two as well, so the delays have only been like a week or two, as opposed to a month, like season 26 was. So despite all of the troubles with actually getting them produced and released, they actually do seem to be coming out on time. I think the bigger problem is sometimes we just don't know when the date, and it could be because they don't want to say, oh, it has to be delayed a week or two or a month. Is why that they may not put an initial date out or might not tell us for a bit of time, which was my biggest problem with season 24's because the trailer for that came out 5 months ahead of its release, and the same for season 2. The worst was season 22's because the BF5's screening for that box set with Revelation of the Dykes was like a week or two off being 4 months from the release of the box set. The screening was start of March, the box set was end of June, so like it was close to being 4 months, or at least it was 3.5 months from screening to box set release. Same with the Celestial Toymaker one. That was March to early March to mid-July from screening to release for that last year. But the first of the 2 box sets I've got down for 2027 is Season 11, the final Third Doctor box set, concluding the biannual tradition of the Third Doctor sets being released in a year ending in an odd number, in this case 7. And, yep, wraps up the Third Doctor's era. They don't really have as much roadblocks with this one as they do some of the other Third Doctor box sets. I think it's mostly Invasion of the Dinosaurs Part 1, colorization, doing it again and better than it was in 2012 for its DVD release. Besides that, Season 11 is probably the easiest of the pre-Fourth Doctor box sets left to be released. But speaking of pre-Fourth Doctor, the following box set after that would be Season 5, which I've put down for November. We are back in Patrick Troughton territory again, making up for lost time. And yeah, with seasons 5 and 6 being a very close possibility between either of them to do as the first box set for the Second Doctor, I was actually leaning towards this one initially, but then after speaking with my reliable information chap, that changed and 6 went sooner, and 5 was pushed back a bit to 2027. However, I think with this one is less of a roadblock because it's only 4 missing episodes from this season rather than 5 left, and that's The Wheel in Space. Damn it, BBC, why couldn't you have made that fan-made animation an official release? We could have had Wheel in Space out much sooner than we currently are waiting for it. The only other thing is that we get that BritBox reconstruction, but unless we get an official new animation from a team contracted by the BBC, commissioned to do it, or a brand new recon, then we should have had that other animation, or we'll have to settle for the BritBox one. I mean, they'll probably include that anyway as well. But yeah, we could have had that story out much sooner, and then season 5 would be ready to go once they were ready. Oh well. I mean, there's still the possibility season 5 could be this year and it could be season 6 out a bit later, but we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I think they'll be wanting to capitalise on the War Games in colour being shown not very long before season 7, and then if season 6 is the next box set, then you've got all these stories from both seasons to watch back to back, including the new 2 versions of the War Games. Moving on into 2028, mirroring the Third Doctor, we conclude the biannual, formerly annual, Fourth Doctor releases with Season 16, aka the Key to Time saga. And this is the third reason why I think this set will be last, is because it's going to be it's the season that is the season-long storyline. Yeah, some of the other seasons did do this, like the 60s ones kind of led into each other's quite often, and season 12 had into season 13 had the season arc. But besides maybe Trial of a Time Lord, because that is one season-long story, season 16 is the closest a classic series season has been to the structure of a new series, like with the story arc across the series. Yes, it's still serialized episodes, 5 4-parters and a 6-parter, as per usual with the Fourth Doctor era, besides seasons 12 and 18. Season 17, if not counting Sharda. But 13 to 16 and 17 with Sharda, then yes, that was the pattern. And yeah, but the stories still kind of connected each other with the linking of trying to find the key to time. And so besides Trial of a Time Lord, it's the closest on that front of feeling like a new series. Of course, the McCoy series is, at least certainly 25 and 26, specifically 26, have more in terms of the tone and themes that's more similar to the revival. And speaking of Trial of a Time Lord, that was the first set released for the 6th Doctor, and one of the earliest sets released in the range, the 5th one to be precise. So, as the sets were starting up, we got the first of the 2 major season-long storylines, not including the season 12 one, though that was the first box set release, so there you go. But not including the season 12 arc or the 7th Doctor Ace arcs later on. The 2 major arcs are the Key to Time and the Trial of a Time Lord. And with Trial of a Time Lord, like Flux, being a season-long arc, one story over a season. And they got that one out early. That was the first 6th Doctor box set, 5th box set overall, as I mentioned. And I think as we start to wrap up the box sets, coming towards the end, with only a few 60s ones left, and wrapping up the 70s and 80s ones, as we draw to an end, I think they'll want to do the other significant series long arc box set released nearer to the end, because one of them came out near the beginning. They're probably going to save the other one for near to the end. So that's my third reason why season 16 will be a bit later, is because it is the other significant season-long story arc, like Trial of a Time Lord, which came out early in the range, so they'll want to have season 16 out towards the end of the range. And like how 23 was the first 6th Doctor set, this will be the last 4th Doctor set, and both Doctors have surnames ending with Baker. So, a bit of a pattern there, and it's a good thing, but we'll have to wait until we confirm what the next 4th Doctor box set is, whenever that will come out. Sticking with my predictions, we'll probably get 13 next year and 16 in 2028. I've put it down for May as well, so we're having a bit of a play around with the release dates, but it could come out a bit sooner. But it does have a good significant time after season 5, 6 months. And then as for the second release of 2028, this is where I put the Wilderness Years, in December specifically. Of course, we could have 3 box sets released in the year of the Wilderness Years set coming out, and that's one of them. But as I mentioned, I'm going to be sticking to 2 a year, apart from the last one, which is going to be on its own. First season 1 release result pending. But yeah, I mean, if season 1 doesn't come out next year, yeah, that schedule's going to be all over the place unless they can get a new deal sorted. I think I know what next year's collection box set video in February 2026 is going to be, if season 1 isn't confirmed to be coming out by the end of March 2026. But as for the Wilderness Years, I am kind of just whenever they feel like it, if they want to do it. And I've just put it as late 2028. Now, that does mean we've got 3 more sets after this, so it could easily be a little bit before, it could be a little bit afterwards as well. And like I said, it could even add an extra box set that year, or it may even spill over into the year after to make it 3, but we're just going to keep it 2, or in the case of the last one, 1 for now. But yeah, Wilderness Years, would basically just kind of be everything that came out after Survival but before Rose, that they would want to thrust into a box set. Dimensions in Time is the possible exception because of the whole it was made for charity thing and everybody waived their salaries so that it would go to charity, but on the condition that it wasn't sold. It was like put on home media to be sold. Like we can watch it for free on YouTube and such, but we can't really like after the Children Need broadcast the story. It wasn't really supposed to be broadcast again, and it wasn't commercial. It wasn't supposed to be sold commercially on video, on DVD, etc. That's why it's never been a DVD bonus feature. And yeah, unless they pay everybody who was involved in the production of that the salaries that they waived to go to charity. So that's all the actors, all the producers, the camera crew, the boom mics, the set people, everybody on the EastEnders set, all the EastEnders cast. So it's not just Doctor Who. They had EastEnders people, the costumes, makeup, everybody who makes up a production team and who was involved in a 2-day shoot for that 7 and 5 minute episodes, I believe, or 7.5, 5.5 minute episodes. It's about 12 to 13 minute long story. The visual effects department, the floating heads going around the TARDIS, basically, and everybody who worked on that 13-minute story would have to be paid, and in the equivalent of today's money, probably as well. So that is the one thing that might not make it onto a commercial release. We just have to settle for it being on YouTube. Other than Dimensions in Time, I think we should be fine. I mean, the rights for the TV movie in North America and Australia and other territories outside the UK and Ireland might have a bit of trouble, but if they were able to clear that for the 2010 special edition DVD, I think they can clear it for this box set. I'm not sure if they did it for the 2016 Blu-ray. I think that was just us. That being said, if there isn't going to be a Wilderness Years or 8th Doctor box set, we need a steelbook of that 2016 Blu-ray release. You did it for Spearhead from Space. Where's the TV movies one? But the other possible things we could have on this box set could be Search Out Space, which I think was omitted from season 26, and I don't think it's included on 24 or 25. So that's the episode of Search Out Science that features the 7th Doctor, Ace, and K9, plus this other character called Cedric, who is never in the TV series. And I don't think he's in any other expanded media as far as I'm aware. Maybe he is, but it would be more to do with whatever this is. I don't know why we got this other character. Maybe they just needed another guy to fill out the cast. I mean, what was wrong with getting a past companion like Mel or someone? Unless Cedric was a regular on the Search Out Science series. But, you know, point is, that episode of Search Out Science, Search Out Space with the Doctor Who cast could be included on this box set, as could the More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS documentary, the webcasts Death Comes to Time, Real Time, Sharda 2003, which wasn't included on season 17. That's another thing they could include on the Wilderness Years, and Scream of the Shalka, which has sort of been now recanonized thanks to Rogue, with the appearance of the Shalka Doctor, Richard E. Grant, appearing in that episode, or his face spinning around the 15th Doctor in a much better use of the holographic faces, heads of the past Doctors than in Dimensions in Time. A more respectful way as well, more tasteful. And yeah, Richard E. Grant showed up there, surprisingly. And Russell T Davies said that was his way of making it up to Paul Cornell for Scream of the Shalka not being canon way of the 2005 revival. So it was sort of his gift, an apology gift to him in a way. And so Shalka has now been recanonized. The theory is now he's a timeless child Doctor, a timeless Doctor, like the Fugitive Doctor and the Morbius Doctors. I wonder how many of those are out there. Maybe the 5 Doctors who are in this next story I'm going to mention could also be timeless child Doctors. Also, Scream the Shalka got a DVD release in 2013. And yeah, that was a surprise as well, by the way, at the time. And they could also have Curse of the Fatal Death on this box set as well, which also not got a DVD release as much as fans wanted it, but it did get a VHS release around the time. And this story could also work as potentially having timeless child Doctors if the show canonised them as well, those being Rowan Atkinson, Richard D. Grant, hello again, Jim Broadbent, Hugh Grant, and Joanna Lumley. What a lineup. We could just say that Richard E. Grant's Doctor liked his face so much he used it again, just like David Tennant did. Hey, I'm happy for the Fatal Death Doctors to be canonised at some point, if they want to. Although it does make the question of them knowing the Master and the Daleks a bit tricky. Well, to be honest, I don't really think Death Comes to Time, which was intended to be the final Doctor Who story in canon, which doesn't work because it's with the 7th Doctor, not the 8th Doctor, who was the current Doctor at the time. I think Fatal Death would actually serve as a better finale to the Doctor and Doctors 9 to 13 with these guys, following on from the 8th Doctor, No Time War, no new series, etc., etc. Just follows on from the 8th Doctor as we knew him from the TV movie and the books and the comics at the time, and they just ended with these 5. It would actually be a much fitting finale to Doctor Who than what Death Comes to Time tried to do, especially as it tried to erase a Doctor out of canon as opposed to adding extra ones in. I mean, what do you think is worse? Adding loads more Doctors or getting rid of some that you've known for years and come to love, or in the case of Paul McGann's, you've accepted as the current incarnation at the time. I know I would, however, have loads more and only just have glimpses of information about them than lose any of the ones we've known and love over the years, including the current ones. So, yeah. I mean, I've got problems with Death Comes to Time besides that as well, but that's one of my big ones. Of course, the TV movie is going to be the biggest and most important thing on this box set, but having these other things on board as well would be really a big treat for fans. They would have these webcasts, they would have, including Chalker, they would have Curse of the Fatal Death, Search Out Science, maybe the Masters scenes from Destiny of the Doctors, if that's on the season 26 set. Man, more than 30 years in the TARDIS, maybe some Doctor Who night stuff, that would be pretty cool. And if there is the slim possibility Dimensions in Time could get released, that too, but I'm not really expecting that to come unless the BBC studios paid everybody who worked on that, or paid the estates of everybody, paid like the families of them, or settled it somehow. Yeah, don't expect Dimensions in Time to be commercially released anytime soon, if ever. Well, we've always got the internet to watch it for free. We now come to the final 3 box sets, starting off with 2029. Now, you may have noticed that we haven't covered the last 80s box set yet, season 21. And I have a specific reason for that, because the next box set, the third to last, depending on the season 1 situation and the Wilderness Years box set release, if it ever happens, as far as my list is concerned, predictions-wise, or what I would do, I've got season 4 down as the third to last. Now, this is moved from second to last to third to last, season 1 and Wilderness Years stuff pending, because I do not want, in my predictions at least, and I think the team at BBC Studios would probably agree, is we should not have back-to-back box sets with the same Doctor, so we would not have, like, season 19 came out between 12 and 18. You wouldn't have 2 Fourth Doctor box sets back to back. You'd have the 5th Doctor box set in between. You would not do, like, after season 7, season 11 is automatically the one season you would not do next. You'd give it maybe the box set after that, but not the immediate next one, because then that's 2 John Pertwees back to back. You'd give it to season 6 or season 1 or season 21 or season 16. And that's why I knew that the last year, when I predicted season 25 as one of 4 possibilities, none of those possible ones included the 4th Doctor release. I mean, I could have included the 3rd Doctor release as well, or season 21. Those were probably the next 2, likely, was season 21 and either 7 or 11. But I would not have said a 4th Doctor set as one of my choices, because season 15 had just come out. Well, maybe if 2024 had more than 2 releases, maybe I would have said maybe the later one, but they'd probably still, again, wait for the next year, at least. So around what season 7 would be. So, yeah, I do not think back-to-back for Doctor seasons. I mean, with the seasons that are, like, you got 2 Doctors in one season, that's 4 and 21, although that's not really going to be the case for Doctors 5 and 6 now. So, in my opinion, we should not have back-to-back seasons of Doctors with each other. Like, you wouldn't have 13 and 14 released next to each other in either in that order or in reverse order, like 18 and 19 were, or what I predict with 7 and 6 and 7. So with that in mind, because the last 3 I've got down are Season 4, Season 21, and Season 3 in that order of release. And Season 3 is a William Hartnell season. Season 4 has 2 stories with William Hartnell, the first Doctor, in them before we're going into Patrick Troughton for the rest. I do not think it is a good idea for Season 4 to be released immediately before or after Season 3 and vice versa, and nor would it be a good idea to do it right after or right before Season 5 or 6, or 1 either. So that is why I put Season 4 down for the third to last release. I mean, it could also swap with the Wilderness Years and they still have like a good gap after Season 5. Although it does tie in more with the Troughton releases, seems now also being every 2 years in the even-numbered years. But suffice to say, I do not think Season 4 should come right before or right after Season 3. I think it needs to come out a little bit before, and they should have another season gap, Wilderness Years included, if that's an option. And if Season 1 does end up being delayed to the very last season, then maybe Wilderness Years should go second to last, so that there's a gap between... There's other Doctors, 7 and 8, have a box set between 2 First Doctor box sets. And that's why I put Season 4 here. And Season 21 right after it, so that there's a gap between the first Second Doctor joint box set and before the last First Doctor box set, which is Season 3, which Season 1, how that goes, pending. Season 3 is the most likely to be last. So that's why I've done it that way. So Season 4 is now third to last, and I put it down for July of 2029, but I realised I didn't put an August down, and we hadn't had an August release yet. We've had an August announcement, Season 2, but we hadn't had any August release, so I'm actually going to change that to August 2029, which would be a massive gap between the releases if Wilderness Years was December of 2028, but I think it's still manageable. And yes, and it also gives more time to sort out Season 4. Season 4, to be perfectly honest, Season 4 is almost ready to go, like Seasons 5 and 6, and to a lesser extent Season 1. There's 8 missing episodes that need to be animated or reconstructed. The Smugglers, parts 1 to 4, and the Highlanders, parts 1 to 4. That's it. Everything else has been animated or reconned. Heck, animated and reconned in some cases, actually. Every story is missing at least 1 episode. The 10th Planet is the nearest to being completed, with only 1 missing episode out of 3, and then everything else is between at least 2 missing episodes of a 4-parter, which is like half the story is there, half the story is missing, as opposed to 3/4 and 1/4 for 10th Planet, or completely missing, or there's more missing episodes than surviving in the longer stories' this case. Smugglers, Highlanders, and Macroterra missing all 4 of their episodes. Power's missing all 6 of theirs. Faceless Ones has 2 out of 6 survive, so it's missing 4. Evil has got 6 out of 7 missing, and only 1 survives. Underwater Menace and Moonbase have 2 missing, 2 surviving, and of course 10th Planet, 3 surviving, 1 missing. However, out of those 9 stories, only Highlanders and Smugglers haven't had anything reconned, official recons, or animations. Of course, we got 10th Planet, the recon for the VHS, and then the animation for DVD. I believe that was the first Season 4 story done for DVD, and I think that was probably the last season to get a DVD release, was Season 4, because everything had a missing episode, but 10th Planet was able to get its one out with the animated last episode, and then Moonbase, a surprise add-on, followed, and also Underwater Menace was scheduled to have its missing episodes animated after the 2nd episode was found. So, whilst it didn't end up that way, and we got that shitty recon instead in 2015, but we still got a Season 4 DVD, and of course, that shitty recon has been now been replaced by the animation and a hopefully much better recon included as a bonus feature on the DVD and Blu-ray. So that's sorted. And then Power of the Daleks, Macroterra, Faceless Ones, and Evil of the Daleks, all animated. Even the Highlanders got considered at one point. And it's still a possibility it could be done. It's just going to be a bit tricky for the animators to do all that tartan. But again, not impossible. And the Smugglers, whilst also could be a tricky one to do, again, not impossible. I think we could get Season 4 on Blu-ray, maybe even sooner than what I'm predicting. But I'm putting it down here because I don't want it to clash with Season 5 and 6. But there is that strong or Season 1, if it does come out within the next year and a month. But I do think Season 4 is very, very close to coming out. Depends on what they do with those other two completely missing stories, these last 8 missing episodes of the season. But other than that, all the other ones are done. Animations, recons, sorted. That's 7 out of 9 stories. That's practically the complete Troughton section of the box set, but swap one Troughton out for a Hartnell. And yeah, it's almost ready to go. It's pretty much almost as ready as the other two Second Doctor box sets and Season 1. So yeah, Season 4 is almost ready to go. So I think it might even have the honour of not being second to last anymore. It's now more likely to come out sooner than second to last. And also, if Season 1 does end up being last, then this can always be pushed forward so it doesn't have clashes with it or Season 3. So, yeah, I think Season 4 has a very strong case for, at the very least, being third to last at latest, unless Season 1 is forced to be later. And if Season 1 is forced to be later, then I'd probably move it to be just after Season 16, and then move the Wilderness Years to be between Seasons 3 and 1. Or the Wilderness Years would go in the spot of the next one I'm going to mention, and then that one moves to stays in second to last, but it's still to move 2 places forward, and that is Season 21. And Season 21 is just here because I wanted a season to bridge Seasons 4 and 3, so we don't have 2 First Doctor seasons back to back. And I've completed the third and fourth Doctor's eras. Like I said, the Wilderness Years could easily have gone here as well. And if Season 1 does end up being pushed back to the very last box set, then Wilderness Years will go after Season 3 and before Season 1. And we still have Season 16 between Seasons 5 and 4. So there isn't 2 Troughtons back to back. So yeah, nothing more to add to that other than it's about the same number of box sets released since Season 20 as Season 20 was to Season 19. So in terms of the 5th Doctor, it's pretty much every 12th release. Starting from 2nd, 14th, and now 26 out of 27. As like I said, if Season 1 does get pushed back, again, this would probably be moved to second to last box set, or Wilderness Years will be brought forward, and then this would be 4th to last. But still would be between 4 and 3 if that was the case, and or between 3 and 1. It would still gap first or part of the First Doctor's runs, and if Season 1 was delayed, Wilderness Years would do the same, and Season 16 would gap the Second Doctor ones. I put Season 21 down for December so that there isn't a long break between Seasons 4 and 3, but the final set, Season 3, could be released in July 2030. It could easily come out in June, it could even be in August. I'm going to settle with July. If I'm going to put Season 4 down for August, which is a 8-month release after the Wilderness Years on this list, then I'm going to leave Season 3 as 7 months after Season 21. So we'll go with July. Now, while Season 4 has every story missing 1 episode on its original broadcast episode format, Season 3 is the one that feels the least complete in terms of the stories. And as stories gradually got being added to Season 4's DVD and Blu-ray range, with more episodes being animated, Season 3 was becoming the new one that was missing out, that Season 4 used to be. Because only 3 stories initially were able to go on DVD, the Ark, the Gunfighters, and the War Machines, because they were the only complete ones. Galaxy 4 then followed as the first Power the Daleks animations to feature the First Doctor, and we've got the upcoming The Savages next month as well. Woohoo! And of course we've got the UClan remake of Mission to the Unknown, although I think that'd be more of a extra on the Blu-ray as opposed to the main feature. But speaking of which, yeah, the big Season 3 hurdle is the Daleks Master Plan. It is 12 episodes, 9 are missing, plus Mission to the Unknown. And on top of that, we've also got the entirety of 4-parters, The Mythmakers, and The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. Oh, and I forgot to mention in that bit just now, although I did mention it earlier, the Celestial Toymaker's also been animated. So we've got Galaxy 4 Toymaker and the upcoming Savages alongside the Ark, Gunfighters, and War Machines. But it's going to be Dalek's master plan that is going to be the big thing holding this back. Whether that's animation or reconstruction, 9 episodes are missing. And if they want to animate the whole story, that's 12. That's basically Faceless Ones and Fury from the Deep, the two 2020 animations, back to back. The same story, plus Web of Fear Part 3. One episode for Mission to the Unknown. And then another 2 4-parters on top of that. However, Savages is about to come out as well. So we're getting there. Season 3 is getting there. And I think it's more likely we'd get at least one more Season 3 before we got Marco Polo, unless they needed to get it ready for Season 1's box set, if sooner than later. But if they're happy to go with reconstruction for that, or it ends up being later after all, but we still get it out, then I think we have a more likely chance of getting one more 4-parter from Season 3 than we would Marco Polo after the Savages or the Smugglers, which would boost Season 4 up a bit again, because they've only got 2 more to go. So yeah, it really depends on, because they've only got 3 more Troughtons left to animate, and Hartnell, Smugglers for Season 4, and otherwise 2 4-parters this season after the Savages, Marco Polo, Crusade, which won't be on a collection box set now, and of course Mission to the Unknown and Dalek's Master Plan. Whew, a lot of hard work, and yeah, I think the reality is we probably won't get all of these in animation form, and I think the same could be said for the second Doctor ones, although that's more likely. At the very least, not all of them will be on the box sets. But yeah, Season 3 is started slowly but surely catching up with Season 4 of filling in the blanks, but there's even more blanks left to fill than Season 4 has now. Season 4 at least just has 8 missing episodes. Season 1, not including the Unearthly Child situation, has 7. Season 2, which has come out, had its 2 missing episodes filled with recon, and 5 and 6 have 4 and 5 respectively. Plus the 1 recolorization of Invasion of the Dinosaurs for Season 11, while Season 3 has got 4, 5, 9, which would be 14, 18, the Massacre. Yeah, it's 18 after the Savages comes out. It's 18 left to animate and recon. 21 if they add on the surviving episodes from Master Plan as well, compared to 7, 2 or 4 if they had done an animation for Crusade. 8, 4 or 6, and 5 or 6 if they did the full animations for Windspace and Space Pirates. Yeah, so 18, maybe 21 episodes having to be animated or reconned. Big task. So, giving it time to get a bit more of that out, or more episodes potentially coming back, which is unlikely, but not impossible, then Season 3 is very likely, depending on the Season 1 situation, going to be the last box set released, and will be the 2030 release. Yeah, the box sets are going to be another 5 years to what I predicted they were going to be, but at this rate they're going to be going on to at least 2029, depending on the Season 1 situation, and if we get a Wilderness Years box set or not. So, with that in mind, 2030, I believe, is the latest we will get all of the box sets out in some form of fashion. And then the standard editions, maybe they'll bridge the gap a bit closer to the time, but currently they seem to be 2 years behind the limited editions, possibly maybe bridging it to that 12 to 18 month range they said they were going to be as we get closer to the end. But we'll see how it goes. It all depends on the finances and the production of the sets. So, that's my predictions for Doctor Who, the collection sets, 2025 onwards. After Season 7, that's my 2025 list. Let's see if I can get any of these predictions right. I'm hoping my reliable source is correct about season 6. Otherwise, I'm going to look like a bit of a fool. Unless it's season 1 or season 5, in which case that's fine. But if it's any, and it won't be season 11. But if it's anything else, then I'm going to look like a bit of a fool. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that one's almost certainly going to be correct. Out of the rest, and also depending on the season 1 situation, let's see, I think I'm going to be sort of correct with the season 11 and the 2 Fourth Doctor sets. Or if all the Fourth Doctor 2 are swapped around, but they still come out around a similar time to when I predicted them, or the other ones to be, like, they'll still be, like, 2026 for one of them, 27 for season 11, 28 for the other Fourth Doctor one. I think those are going to be correct. Whether the 2 Fourth Doctor ones come out in that order or it's the other way round is to be seen. The real thing to see what happens is how they'll do the 60s box sets, what the order for that will be. I mean, season 1, it's either going to be one of the next ones or it's going to be one of the last ones. But besides that, it's going to be interesting to see how they'll handle the other 60s seasons, as well as how they'll integrate them around the remaining 70s and 80s seasons, and, if they include it, the wilderness years. We'll come back next year to have a quick chat about how that's gone and what we could be looking at this time next year, when we come to whatever the topic of that one is going to be. Like I said, it could be about season 1 if that one isn't confirmed to be happening by the end of March 2026. Or we might find something else to talk about. So thank you for watching these videos on the Doctor Who the Collection box set for this year, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.